What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Sweat. I'm your host, Jesse Cofield. We have so much to get to on today's show. Week 8 in the NFL. Do we have a quarterback controversy in New England? We will discuss. I'm sure you're not tired of hearing about that on Twitter yet. We're going to talk about it more here. Bermuda, the golfers are down there. We're going to talk about that. Rory just won the CJ Cup. Does he keep rolling? We will continue and talk about that. Also, Jared Carrabis is here for the takeoff. We're going to start there. NBA, NHL, so much to get to, so stay tuned and find out. Jared Carrabis is here.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Way better that you're here instead of Emerson.
I know.
Yeah, we can relax now. It's like
Thank
it's
God.
too much high energy. It stresses me out.
I know.
I always need a cigarette after I'm done with the segment.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's like our long national nightmare is finally over.
Finally.
Emerson's not here.
Thank God.
It's amazing. Also, your long national nightmare, the Yankees have been eliminated.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I didn't have a dog in the fight in that series, though. I really didn't.
Not just eliminated, but swept.
Swept, yeah. They didn't win a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did not win a game. Their season's over. I think the biggest story to come out of that series was the fact that they tried to juice themselves up by watching their team get swept. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
That's a little.
Was it like a reverse psychology thing?
I don't think it was.
Okay.
I think they were just like, hey guys, hey, remember that time that there was a team that came back from being down 0-3. It was the Boston Red Sox. Just throw out the fact that it was against us. I mean, the New York Yankees and our manager Aaron Boone. He was kind of a part of it there. But yeah, let's get fired up. Let's watch our team get embarrassed on a national scale, and that's how they intended to get fired up, but it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Very dark for them. Judge fittingly makes the final out.
He did make the final out, and he's a free agent, and he did have the little bit of a press conference at the end, and he was very non-committal to coming back to the Yankees. He was kind of, and I respect this a lot about him. He was essentially like, hey, I'm a free agent now. You had your chance to pay me. You didn't. I went out and hit 62 home runs, so if you want me back, here's my agent's business card.
Yeah, and we'll see how big that contract ends up being. All right, roof open comments.
Yeah.
Chaz McCormick home run off the top of the wall in Game 3. The concession stand on fire in Game 4. What was your favorite moment of the series?
Ooh. I mean, it has to be that they watched the 2004 Red Sox before getting swept. And then FaceTime Big Papi into Aaron Boone's office. It was just, I don't know. By the way, I flew home with David Ortiz.
You did?
Yeah. I was walking into the airport in Philadelphia, and all I hear is, yo! And I turn over and I look. It's David Ortiz.
What did you guys talk about?
I was wearing David Ortiz sandals at the time. I was like, hey, check out my sandals. And he was like, oh, I love that.
So, did you guys talk about anything baseball related, or you just
we're pals.
You guys
we
have
FaceTime.
history. You FaceTime on the reg.
Not on the reg, but sometimes we'll when we miss each other, we'll FaceTime. Yeah, but we saw each other. He flew first class. Of course, he's David Ortiz.
Obviously.
But yeah, I was good to see him at the airport. I say for that series, oh man, anytime that Alex Bregman gets a big hit, it's exciting for me as someone that struck him out.
Yeah.
Anytime that he does something awesome, it's I can play the clip of me striking him out.
The Rocket. Absolutely.
Fastball heater right down the middle.
That feels good.
It felt great.
Yeah.
I would say Garrett Cole being sad made me happy.
Yeah. That's Schadenfreude. That's a German term for when you get joy out of other people's unhappiness and pain.
Yeah. No, I get a lot of that.
Okay, cool.
In terms of that series in particular. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where last year Aaron Boone had these quotes about, well, it sounds like the league is kind of closing the gap to us, which was a very delusional thing to say. Yeah. Because this is a team that now 13 consecutive postseasons has not even made it to the World Series. So I think he had a better quote this time around. He was like, well, yeah, now we need to close it. I was like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know.
You guys are not the gold standard, and you haven't been for a long time.
Will Aaron Boone be back as manager?
I hope so.
You hope? I mean, yeah. You hope so?
Yeah.
But will he?
I think he will be back.
Really?
Yeah, the Yankees are they're not big on like making these drastic. Ever since George Steinbrenner has left this earth, they have stopped making drastic changes. They're just like, oh, we lost again, run it back.
Yep.
Run it back. And as a fan, that must be infuriating to be a part of that because obviously they need to make some sort of changes because you went from losing in 7 games to losing in 6 games to getting swept. Like you're going in the opposite direction if the goal, like the World Series goes through Houston every single year pretty much.
Right.
And the Yankees, every single time that they've played the Astros, have gotten fewer and fewer games in that best of 7. So there has to be some sort of change. I don't know that Aaron Boone is the change that you need to make.
Sure.
Like it might be Brian Cashman. Like Brian Cashman's the one that made the trade for Gio Urshela, like which was great. Did you see his tweet? He tweeted like good morning with like the teacup.
No.
Yeah, so he's enjoying the fact that the Yankees got eliminated.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah.
The Donaldson IKF, it was a bad trade. So I don't know if you're gonna point to anything. I wouldn't point to Aaron Boone. It starts at the top, Brian Cashman, but he's got a job for life. He's Brian Cashman.
Yep.
He's Brian Cashman.
He's not going anywhere.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. Take us inside your Twitter account during this series.
It's a dark place to be.
What was your favorite interaction with Yankees fan? I'm sure that was very PG and like stuff you can say on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing about my Twitter account, and like my family follows me on Twitter, so they get upset about the stuff that I see. But my brain is wired in a certain way. Like I've been through this enough times to know that when I start to get death threats, that means the Yankee season's about to end. And the more intense the death threats get, that means they either have already been eliminated or they're about to be eliminated. So death threats to me, it's when you you turn on the radio on like December 15th and it's like, Christmas music, let's go, it's Christmas time. So death threats equals Yankees elimination, Christmas music equals
Does it make
Christmas
you
is
feel
coming.
like Christmas music?
Yeah,
Really?
Of course. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's that time of year again, baby.
My God.
About to open up these presents.
That's dark
Aaron
for
Judge
you.
is going to go to the Dodgers. The Yankees are eliminated. We're going to talk about firing Brian Cashman. Like, which present are we going to open up? So that's that's really what it is.
That
it's
is
an exciting
dark.
time.
You've been conditioned to something very dark.
Very dark. Yeah, my brain has been wired. I mean, so you have to think about it this way, right? Like, I've been on the internet as an internet person for more than half the time I've been alive.
Yeah.
So I've been reading horrific things about me
Yeah.
for more than, I don't remember a life before that.
You're desensitized to it.
Very much so. Like, you can say anything that you want. It's not really going to bother me, yeah.
All right, we'll try that out later.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you were in Philly for the NLCS. Like,
Yep.
did you get a better appreciation for Philly fans?
Yes. Yeah. So they're insane.
Yep.
These people are insane. When I walked up to Game 5, they booed me.
What?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. They just started. But like, so how I took that in my mind was there was not I didn't see a single San Diego Padres fan there, not one. So I think that they looked at me and they were like, he's not one of us. Like, we got to get this energy out somehow. So they just started booing me, which was interesting, which I appreciated it because. So we had this conversation on the podcast. They're like, you showed up in like a jacket. And you look like Rob Lowe. You're just wearing like the MLB hat.
I just hope both teams have fun.
Yeah, but like a Philly fan tweeted me after hearing the podcast, and they were like, "You made the right choice because we would have hated you more if you were wearing Phillies gear, being like we know that you're not a Phillies fan, so we would have hated you for being a phony. Like at least you went neutral instead of like what was my other choice? Like I'm not like I hate when people wear like the jersey of a team that's not even playing. So I wasn't going to show up in Red Sox stuff. I'm not going to show up in, like, there's nothing.
MLB
I made the right choice. I went neutral. I still got booed, but it could have been worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse. You didn't get anything thrown at you, did you?
No.
Okay.
They were super nice.
No one tried to punch you, so.
No one tried to punch me. I would say 88% of the interactions were super positive.
Okay, great.
But I didn't know what to expect. Like if someone like yelled my name, I like braced myself for impact. It's like, are you gonna like?
Not the face.
Yeah, like do you want to like do like a fist bump or like what do you want to do? Like
face bump? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're animals. They're animals, but I mean that as a term of endearment.
Yeah. So can the Phillies get this done against Houston? Obviously, they got to contend with that monster like pitching rotation.
Yeah, I think if they're going to win this series, they have to split the first two in Houston, and that's why. it's not necessarily why I love the baseball format, but it's kind of like if it's 2-3-2, and we just saw this in the NLCS, like they split in San Diego, so they were able to play 3 straight home games. Like that's why in baseball it's so different. Like so if you're going 2-3-2, you split, you can get so much traction in those 3 home games. Like the Phillies, this was such an even series between them and the Padres, but they won in 5.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is because they got to play 3 straight great games at home in Philly. And I think that same thing can happen against the Houston Astros. The Astros are the better team. The Astros are the best team in baseball. Bullpen, rotation, defense, offense, they're just better. Like they're better. It's not just matching them up against the Phillies. They're better than everyone in that regard. So they should win the World Series, but is there a path for the Phillies to do that? Yes, and it starts by at least splitting in Houston games 1 and 2.
Are you rooting for that to happen?
I don't.
Careful, the Phillies fans are listening.
Yeah, they are listening.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't have a dog in this fight.
Okay.
Like, I think it would be awesome if the Phillies won because, I mean, like, I got to experience how crazy, a sports environment it is in Philadelphia. But another part of me wouldn't be mad if the Astros won because, like, I think they paid their penance for 2017. I think the only thing that they should have done was strip them of the World Series title.
Okay.
Because I know people are upset that none of the players got suspended. Like, the players had no repercussions. I think if you wanted the players to talk on record and you offered, immunity for speaking, it's like, all right, we're not going to suspend you, but we are going to take away your World Series title.
Sure.
That was the way to punish the players. But I think we've kind of just like gotten away from that so much where like I'm just tired of like the cheating stuff where if they win one now and it's still a lot of that core, like Alex Bregman's still there, Yuli Gurriel is still there. I mean, I think that's how you kind of change the narrative. It's like, I like when the villain wins sometimes. Like, I enjoy that element of it. So I think if Houston wins, they can go out there and be like, hey, we got a real one. You guys can chirp about 2017 all you want, but we just bulldozed. They haven't lost a game yet in the playoffs.
Incredible.
So, yeah.
All right, let's bring it back to Boston here.
Okay.
So some conflicting reports out last night about the Red Sox and Rafael Devers. So there was a reporter at the Dominican Republic said the team is moving towards a 7-year deal, okay? Yeah. Another local reporter saying no active extension talks.
Yeah,
okay.
We can say his name. He's an idiot. Chris Cotillo.
You know him.
Yeah, he's an idiot. He's like 5'4".
Oh, okay.
About 275.
A short king.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the situation? Like, what's going on? You know this reporter.
I know both. I know all parties involved.
Okay, so like, what's the truth?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, I think where there's smoke, there's fire in these situations. The reporter out of the Dominican Republic is tight with Rafael Devers. It's kind of the same thing. Like when I put something out there, and then you have like the beat reporters being like, well, we're gonna refute this, but it's like, who's talking to the players?
Yeah.
Like
you.
And this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know his first name. I know his last name is Pujols. But him and Hector Gomez are both saying the same things. These are the guys that are talking to the Dominican players.
Yeah.
Chris Cotillo of Mass Live is not hitting up Rafael Devers in the Dominican Republic being like, hey, man, what's the scoop? Like, this dude is talking to Devers. So if he's putting this out there, I would imagine that that's the more accurate road to take than this dude over here.
You flew home with Big Papi. He didn't have anything to say about this?
I should have asked him.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him. You know what?
Text him.
Well, I'll text him.
Okay. FaceTime him right now. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what's funny about my text messages with Ortiz is he texts me in English and I text him in Spanish.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Do you use like a Google Translator?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't speak
amazing.
Spanish. So every single off season I come up with like a list of things for like hobbies or things that I want to accomplish in the off season.
Yeah.
I'm learning Spanish this
Wow.
season. I have to do it.
Muy bien.
Sí.
Okay, is that what? Sí? Hola?
Yeah.
That's where we're at right now?
Well, I mean, like, I don't want to, like, flex too hard.
Okay, all right, fine.
Right.
We'll give you a little time.
Yeah,
we'll give you a little time. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we love having you here.
Let's keep Emerson out of the equation.
Yeah, I'm just going to take over the takeoff.
Yeah, please.
Thanks. Sounds good. All right, guys, quick break here. This is what we'll be right back. We're talking NFL Week 8. All right, we all know what happened last night during Monday Night Football. Here are the stats. Mac Jones got pulled in favor of Bailey Zappe. It's all zappening. Wow. Yeah, I know. You like that, Steve? It's all zappening. All right, Steve Buchanan is here to talk about this. So Bears beating the Patriots 33-14. The quarterback situation in New England, I mean, we just took a look at the stats here. Everyone was saying, like, no quarterback controversy here, blah, blah, blah. Looks like there is one. Where do we go from here? Also, I saw some reports that were saying last night on Twitter that Bill Belichick's plan was to see both quarterbacks last night.
Yeah, and that definitely seemed to be the case, too, because especially with Mac Jones coming back from, you saw the picture. Everybody's seen the picture of him being helped off the field.
Screaming in pain.
It looked like his leg was just amputated the way he was coming off the field. I mean, it is a serious injury when you have those high ankle sprains. So it's not a shock to know that, maybe there was going to be a little bit of both there, kind of like we see the Saints all the time. Andy Dalton, Taysom Hill, one of the worst things that happen in fantasy football. That being said, when it comes to these two guys here, I mean, the stats are telling. Bailey Zappe played much better than Mac Jones, who only completed 3 of 6 pass attempts for 13 yards and an interception. But I think the big thing here is that what do these guys look like against a more competent defense? And that's kind of what we're going to see coming up in this game against the Jets. Like, the Jets, for as much as we've ragged on them in the past and everything, they are a legit team at this point, and defensively they've been a good team. They're one of the best pass rushing teams in the league at this rate. So what are these guys going to look like against a competent defense? I wouldn't say the Bears are one of those ones there. So I think the real competition is going to come next week when we see how, if Zappe starts or Jones start, how these guys look against a defense like the Jets. So at least of what we've seen thus far, Zappe has played much better than Mac Jones, but I think also Jones coming back off that injury, how high could the expectations could be in that game?
All right, so you mentioned that the Bears have like an incompetent defense.
Sure.
I mean, but did we underestimate them at all? I mean, the Patriots were 8.5-point favorites going into this game. Did last night change your mind about them at all? Justin Fields played the best game of his career.
No doubt. And I think it's not something that, I think this is going to be a great situation to sell high on the Bears, because I don't think that's going to be the team you're going to see come in and week out. Like you mentioned, Justin Fields had probably one of his best games since coming into the league. Is that the guy that we normally see on a week-to-week basis? It's not. I think that really resonates more with how bad this Patriots defense really can be. Like, we have this notion in our head that the Patriots are this defensive juggernaut. Like, nobody can get anything against the Patriots. That really isn't the case anymore. They've lost so many key guys that they don't have like that stellar secondary anymore, or that majestic pass rush that we've seen in years past. So I think that's really where the difference was coming into this one here. This Patriots defense is really not as good as we think it is overall. So I'm going to say this is a great situation to sell high on the Bears and maybe take a step back on how that Patriots defense plays week in and week out.
All right, let's get into Week 8. So put a little DraftKings spin, NFL spin move on some of the latest news. So this week, Colts having a new quarterback. Matt Ryan benched in favor of Sam Ehlinger. Indy, home favorite against the Commanders. Should they be?
I mean, there's a lot to digest here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you look at the matchup. I mean, look, nobody can get worse than what we've seen from Matt Ryan. Like, he has just been repulsive, I think is a good word to put here. But it's one of those situations where it can't get much worse than what we've seen from Matt Ryan thus far. The matchup that they have this week is certainly one that can be in their favor against the Commanders, who are also starting a backup quarterback. Tyler Heineke is the quarterback right now for the Commanders, but the Commanders really just don't have anything on offense, where the Colts do have stuff on offense. They obviously have Jonathan Taylor, he's back. Hines is back. They have a really nice group of receivers that they can go to. It's just Matt Ryan hasn't been able to connect with these guys when he's not fumbling the ball. He did that like 9 times in the start that he's had thus far. That offensive line has really given him a lot of trouble too. He has been able to get rid of the ball. So this is a tough one here. When it's a spread is at like 3 or less, usually want to take the better team here. I don't know if the Colts are really the better team at this point here, because we haven't seen Ehlinger at all. But obviously Jonathan Taylor is the best offensive player amongst the two teams. So I would side with the Colts here, but that's going to be a sweaty one. You're not going to be enjoying betting on that game.
Yeah, definitely not. All right, in running back news, Breece Hall confirmed to have suffered an ACL tear in that Jets Week 7 win over the Broncos. So Monday, New York went out and acquired James Robinson from the Jags for a conditional 6th rounder. What is Robinson's ceiling with the Jets here? I mean, losing Hall was big, right? He had 463 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns so far. Robinson was the Jags' lead running back, but he was losing some playing time to Travis Etienne. So,
yeah, I don't think he's going to come in here and be the running back one. Like, Michael Carter is still in the mix here too as well. And really before last season, before they brought Hall in, Carter was more than acceptable for what he was doing there. Averaged 4.3 yards per carry, 639 rushing yards, 36 catches and 4 touchdowns altogether. So it's not like Carter can't play. I think Robinson's going to be used as that RB2 role. Maybe he can overtake that role at some point here, but I think Robinson's coming in as the backup here because otherwise it was just going to be Ty Johnson behind Carter as like the complementary role or whatnot. So I don't think Robinson is going to. I think Robinson is basically going to take the same role that he had in Jacksonville with Etienne really kind of emerging as the RB1. So I don't really see this being a great landing spot for Robinson overall. Once that injury came to Breece Hall, the rumors already started coming out that the Jets were going to go and get a veteran. Maybe it was going to be Kareem Hunt. He was somebody who's being talked about to be on the trading block, but I think he's going to be the RB2 in this one. I think they're going to roll with Michael Carter. So I would say his ceiling isn't overly high. I think he's basically taking that role from Jacksonville and taking it over now with the Jets.
all right, so McCaffrey.
Yes.
Going to get his first full week of practice with his new team, the 49ers. His price remains at the top of the running back list for week 8, $8,700.
Yep.
Are you staying away from that? Because at the end of the day, all these 49ers skill players, they're still getting the ball thrown to them from Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right. It's a tough spot. Like, if anything, like, I think the trade really ends up affecting Deebo Samuel overall, right? Because he was being used in the backfield. He was kind of like the gadget guy for the 49ers. With McCaffrey in the mix now, that really doesn't need to be done for Deebo Samuel. He can basically be the receiver now. It's tough this week to go with McCaffrey against a tough Rams team, a team that really basically kind of held him in check the first time he saw them, because they're one of the best teams against the run. So it's really kind of hard to go back to McCaffrey, especially when you consider some of the other guys that are on this slate and price in the same range. Derrick Henry going against the Texans is a smash spot for Derrick Henry this week here. Saquon Barkley going up against the Seattle Seahawks, another great spot here. So when you look at some of those price points and you see that McCaffrey had 22 DraftKings fantasy points against the Rams, which is a fine output, but not when you consider how expensive he was. This time around, after just seeing them, he's $400 more. So if you're getting that same type of output, that's not exactly the best bang for your buck here with that salary. So I think I'm staying away from McCaffrey because the guys that are priced below him, much better spots, much better opportunities in the PPR format. So I like Henry and Barkley much more than McCaffrey this week.
Okay, well, Packers and Bucks are not good. We can let's just say they're not good.
Right.
But we find them both in primetime games this week. Brady, home dog against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football, while you got Rodgers, a double-digit dog for the first time in his career.
Rightfully so.
As Green Bay heads to Buffalo for Sunday Night Football. Do you see any way to take advantage of how bad these teams have been, whether it's this week or perhaps maybe in the futures market?
Yeah, I was kind of taking a look in the futures market and taking a look at the Buccaneers win totals, currently set at 9 for the rest of the season, because DraftKings Sportsbook allows you to bet win totals even in the middle of the season here. I was trying to look is there 6 more wins at least for the Buccaneers in this one? It's really hard to say yes or no because the Buccaneers are much better than we've seen. Like, this is not a team that should be losing to the Carolina Panthers. But at what point is this going to turn around? And that's really where I kind of get a little unsure. If you want to take advantage of this right now, you can do a moneyline parlay on the Bills and Ravens. You get plus 111 on that. I think that's a parlay that I'm not a huge parlay guy, but I do like that one there because I do think the Ravens are going to win, and I do think the Bills are going to win. And if you don't want to take that massive spread of 10.5, just take them to win outright because they're minus 580 favorites against the Packers. You're not going to take that alone. So you pair it with with the Ravens money line there. You have plus 111. I think that's actually a pretty fair price for two teams that should win their games this week on Thursday and Sunday.
Should being the operative word.
Yes, of course.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in and doing some football with us. Are you back for another part of the show?
Probably.
Probably. I don't know. I haven't yet. Actually, no, I don't think so. But we'll see you later, Steve. So you can take a hike. We're gonna talk PGA Tour next because guess what? Rory McIlroy, this man, defends his CJ Cup title, right? 3rd victory of the 2022 calendar year. He moves to number 1 in the world for the first time in 2 years. Congrats to this man, Rory. Love that journey for you. All right, now let's welcome in the Action Network's Jason Sobel. He is here to talk the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. Jason, thank you for being here. Let's get a betting preview of this thing going down in Bermuda. Now, before we get into best bets, can you just wax poetic here for me about Rory, who won last week's event, took over the top spot in the world rankings? Can you put it into perspective just how great of a year this guy's had?
Yeah, good morning, Jesse. First of all, you and Emerson asked me last week on the show if Rory McIlroy could win at Congaree for the CJ Cup. My answer was, he's Rory McIlroy. He can win anytime he tees it up. So I'm taking that as a W. I'm taking that as a win last week on Rory. Now, I did not have Rory. He was the favorite in the field. But as far as what he's done, he told me a few months ago at the Travelers Championship, spoke with him after an opening round 62, and I asked him about sort of all the pressure that's built up on him with Live Golf and him being the vocal leader of the PGA Tour, the biggest supporter of what the PGA Tour stands for right now. Is there more pressure to play his best golf? At the time, he said no, but I've got to believe that internally, if not externally, he has felt a lot of pressure this year because, quite frankly, those words ring a little bit more hollow if Rory McIlroy is finishing in 37th place every week. And so the fact that he has won 3 times here in the 2022 calendar year, he has ascended back to number 1 in the official world golf ranking for the first time in 2 years, the 9th time in his career. Some really impressive stuff considering all the other things that Rory McIlroy has had to deal with this year off the golf course.
Yeah, so, are you interested, Jason, in getting in on any Rory futures right now? Because if you think this is the season, he finally does it and grabs the green jacket, completes the career Grand Slam, you can get it at plus 900 right now.
I'm not taking it, Jesse. I'm not taking it because I don't like Rory to win the green jacket. In fact, if I had to pick one player right now, it's hard not to pick Rory. I've always thought his game suits Augusta National really well. The reason, though, that I'm not taking it right now, 6 months prior to the 2023 Masters, is because I don't know if that number is going to get that much shorter between now and then. He'd have to play some really great golf between now and the second weekend of next April for that number to get to what? Plus 700, plus 600. I just don't see it getting that much lower, and so I don't think you're getting much of a value in taking it right now.
All right, Jason. Well, Rory not in the field this week. No top golfers really are. So the tournament's wide open, right? Some unfamiliar names at the top of the odds board here. Denny McCarthy is the favorite, but then you have Adrian Meronk, Thomas Detry, Mark Hubbard. Can you tell us a little bit about these guys here and whether you want to bet any of them?
Yeah, the cupboard is pretty bare this week as far as top players. Seamus Power, you mentioned him. He is the highest ranked player in the field at 48th. And so, yeah, we're left with a lot of guys that I think the general public, the casual golf bettor, isn't really familiar with. That said, there's also an opportunity here. There's an opportunity to look at some long shots. In 3 years of this in existence, this Butterfield Bermuda Championship, we've seen Brendan Todd win at 80-1 pre-tournament, Brian Gay at 200-1, Lucas Herbert last year at 60-1. So my advice is, well, Denny McCarthy, the tournament favorite, fits this golf course. He's never finished outside the top 40 in 3 previous appearances. He's in some form right now, but I'm looking way further down the board. I am chasing a bunch of long shots. I think this is a good week to, instead of go after your blue chip stock like you might have done with Rory McIlroy last week, this is a mutual fund week. This is time to diversify the portfolio a little bit.
All right, hit us with those long shots that you're taking a look at this week.
Yeah, there are a bunch of them. I can go straight down the list. I'll start it out with Sam Ryder, who's one of the better putters on the PGA Tour. And if we've learned anything from the last 3 champions at this Port Royal golf course, it's that putting sort of separates, which is different than we see on most weeks. We're usually looking to sustainable tee to green stats. This week, we're looking for really good putters. Sam Ryder, Chesson Hadley fits that as well. I'm going to tell you about Bryce Garnett in just a minute. And then if you want to go really deep, if you want a super duper long shot this week, Akshay Bhatia, only 20 years old, hasn't quite been the phenom, lived up to the expectations a lot of people had for him, but he did win earlier this year on the Corn Ferry Tour in the Bahamas, not too far from Bermuda, similar type of resort-style course and tropical conditions. Hey, look, at 250-1, I'll put a couple bucks on anything.
Yeah, hey, why not? All right, well, he's in the field, so we want to talk about him. John Daly is playing on a sponsor exemption. You can't have longer odds to win. He's plus 50,000. He's plus 330 to top 40. Are you throwing any money on the Lion just for kicks here? Like, Jonah Hill will reportedly play the man in an upcoming biopic film. So would you put money on him, and what do you think of the casting?
I think I'd rather put money on Jonah Hill for a top 40 this week than John Daly.
Okay, fair enough.
No, look, John can still, for one given round, a stretch of holes, he can still put together some very good scores. I don't mean to besmirch John Daly's talent whatsoever. And I can't wait to see that. I mean, Jonah Hill, he was great in Superbad, he's great in War Dogs, a million other things. See Jonah Hill take on this role, I think that's going to be great. We need more good golf movies. That said, no, I'm not playing any John Daly this week. I think he's probably preoccupied with some other things.
Yeah, probably. I would gander that's right. Who's your pick to win in Bermuda? What do we think, Jason?
So, like I said, Jesse, this is not a take my guy, take out the second mortgage, I guarantee my 5-star lock of the week. This is not one of those. Not that I ever do that, but this is definitely not one of those. This is a look at some longer numbers, look at some bigger prices, maybe even chase some bigger prices after the first or second round once we've got a feel for how this course is playing. But I'm looking at Bryce Garnett, who has played his best golf in tropical locations in inferior fields in the past. He won it the Corrales Punta Cana event back in 2018, also has a 9th place finish there. He's got 4 finishes inside the top 11 at Mayakoba. He's got 2 top 7 finishes at Puerto Rico. And in his only start in Bermuda in the past, he finished in 21st place at 100-1. Bryce Garnett seems like a really good course fit, and he fits what we're trying to do this week, which is, hey, just give me a chance. If you're going into the convenience store, you don't go buy 1 lottery ticket. You buy 5 of them to give yourself a little bit of a chance. That's how I'm looking at it this week. I'll also have outrights on the card for Nick Taylor, Callum Tarrant, Chesson Hadley, and Sam Ryder, who I mentioned earlier. So, like I said, good week for diversification.
All right, good stuff, Jason. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it as always. Next up, Phil the Thrill. Looking to set the Ironman streak tonight. But is he worth rostering in your lineups? Our experts break down the 10-game NHL slate next.
You know, betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
October baseball is all about wild cards and wild wins, because with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays, you can boost your winnings up to 100% for each additional leg. DraftKings, I think I love you. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and boost your winnings up to 100% for each additional leg. Action's so good, why bet MLB anywhere else?
Everyone loves an underdog story. You know why? Because it fills you with hope, makes you believe, right? Hold on now. Did you say any team? So now I can bet the overdog for underdog odds? Team Overdog, where you at? Let me hear you.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet just $5 to win $200 if your team wins. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
Get that Game 7 excitement any day of the NBA season with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. DraftKings is giving out $1 million in free prizes to celebrate the start of the season. Everyone plays for free, no deposit required. Every bucket, block, and board gets you closer to winning big. Open the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app, draft your lineup, and enter the NBA Free Contest Series for a shot to win big prizes. NBA action's so good, why play anywhere else? Last night, Phil Kessel tied Keith Yandel for most consecutive games played at 989. Jeez! He's going to be back on the ice tonight to break that record when the Golden Knights take on the Sharks. But is he worth putting in your lineup? I don't know. I'm not the expert. Let's talk to our NHL panel. We got RotoWire's Paul Bruno and AJ Schultz along with NHL.com's Anna Dua. Guys, morning skate. We're going to preview tonight's 10-game slate, and we're starting with Phil Kessel, all right? Is he in play tonight as a value pick? Who else is a good value play? Do you want to throw him in your lineup, Paul?
You know what? Of course, he's the big story tonight. I think all three of us are on side with him getting to the 400 goal mark as well in that game. He's come into it, though, on a second of back-to-backs with a game against San Jose tonight. They're coming off a shutout win. He cost $2,600 in a third-line role and looking for the first goal of the season. I like his chances against a Shark team that is less than stellar defensively normally, and so let's hope that he makes it, and he makes it in style.
All right, what do we think, AJ?
Well, let's not forget, this is Stanley Cup champion. I'm sorry, two-time Stanley Cup champion Phil Kessel.
You're
here.
welcome.
Put some respect on his name.
There are plenty of reasons to be off Kessel tonight. You know, he got dropped to the third line. It hasn't really been going so well this start of the year. He's on the number 2 power play now instead of the number 1 power play unit. But look, at the end of the day, $2,600 is super cheap for a guy that should still see some power play opportunities. As Paul mentioned, he's facing a struggling San Jose squad. Like I like Kessel tonight too, just because if you use a low-cost option like Kessel here, you can put in guys like Pasternak or Kaprizov or Zibanejad. Like, it gives you the flexibility you need, and you could do a lot worse in the 2,600 range than Phil Kessel.
True that. Anna, $2,600. Do you like him at that price?
I'm going 3 for 3. I like Phil Kessel. He's the guy who shows up when it matters the most, so I wouldn't be surprised if he found the back of the net tonight. But I'll give you just another option as another player I'm looking at. I'm taking a look at John Marino of the New Jersey Devils playing against the Detroit Red Wings. He was probably the most impactful player for the New Jersey Devils last night against the Washington Capitals, had 2 assists in that game. And the Devils are a phenomenal puck possession team, even though they couldn't pick up that win. And John Marino was a huge part of that. If he keeps that momentum going against the Detroit Red Wings, he's at 2,500. So he might be another value player to watch.
All right, let's talk who your play at center is going to be. AJ, your boy Sidney Crosby, 4th most expensive guy at 7,800. Do you want to roster him?
Well, I do, but I'm actually going to fade that and go elsewhere. It's a tough matchup. They're on a long road stretch right now. It's like 16 of their next 19 games are on the road. So I'm going to go further down the board here, and I'm going to look at the Blue Jackets' Boone Jenner. Bit of a slow start here, but they're facing the Coyotes, who are about the most woeful team in the NHL, if not the most woeful. And Jenner's going to get Patrick Laine back tonight, which will be a huge boost to him. Now, I'm not quite sure I want to roster Laine given his extended layoff here to start the year, but Laine being on the ice should free up space for Boone Jenner. I think he takes advantage of that, and he won't cost you quite as much as the top of the board here.
Anna, how do you feel about center? What's your strategy? Are you going to pay up or find somebody more in the middle like your boy AJ did?
I'm finding someone more in the middle, but still on the lower side. I'm taking a look at rookie Matty Beniers of the Seattle Kraken. He's playing against the Buffalo Sabres tonight, and Beniers has had a shot in every single game this season, had 4 shots on goal and a goal in his last game against Chicago. He had a phenomenal NHL debut. We've talked time and time again at the end of last season. Haven't really seen him step up and get that breakout that he will probably get at some point this season just yet. Maybe this is the game to do it. I actually really like the Kraken. I think they have some very interesting players, and when they come together, they really come together. So I'm taking a look at Beniers.
Paul, who are you going to be playing at the center position here?
It's a loaded list tonight. There's options all over the place. So I'm going to give you high, low, and medium. At the high end, I love the matchup for Alex Barkov and the Panthers. They're at Chicago. He costs $7,300 in what looks like one of the biggest matches on the board. So that's where I start. Got 4 hit points, only assists so far this season. I think he finds the back of the net tonight. In the middle of the price range, I watched last night's game very closely, as you might imagine, between the Leafs and Vegas, and I like the play of Jack Eichel. He reminds me that he's still an elite player when he's healthy, and he looked very good last night. Still priced only $5,900, so the believers haven't really caught on. And he's playing very well and looking healthy, so I think that's a very solid play, given his matchup this evening. And at the lower end of the board, Travis Boyd centering Arizona's top line. Whoever thinks about Arizona when you're talking about premier options, but he's played 5 games, got 4 points, costing only $3,100, and I like the matchup against a Columbus Blue Jackets club that's allowing almost 4 goals a game. You can say the same thing for Nick Suzuki of the Habs. $5,500 with first-line minutes against a Minnesota club that's leaking goals, and AJ's buddy's not doing much of a job in the nets for them right now.
All right, Anna, take us to the wing. You saved a little bit at center, so do you want to pay up here? David Pastrnak is the most expensive guy at 8,800.
I'm not paying up quite to the level of Pastrnak just yet, but Paul actually set me up perfectly. I'm taking a look at Matt Zuccarello of the Minnesota Wild. I mean, he quietly leads the NHL in power play points right now with 7 on that elite power play for the Wild. He has 10 points in 5 games to start the year, and the Minnesota Wild are definitely not having the start they were hoping to have for the season. They're playing against a Montreal Canadiens team that they can pick up a win against. I think they're going to come out guns a-blazing tonight, and Matt Zuccarello is going to find the scoreboard again.
All right, Paul, who's going to be guns blazing for you on the wing?
I'm right there with my wingmate. She and I agree on Minnesota's matchup against Montreal. I like Kirill Kaprizov at the top of the board, a premium option for $8,300. Solid matchup against the Habs. I think it's breakout night for the Wild. Makes very good sense to me against that inexperienced blue line. I also like the Buffalo Sabres. A hot start for them, and Alex Tuch has been front and center. He gets a nice matchup at Seattle, costing $6,700. So I think wing is a position to play up for tonight. But if you want to save some money there, there's another option that I like, and that's Gustav Nyquist of the Jackets, who costs $4,100, playing on first-line minutes alongside Johnny Gaudreau, who's having a very nice start. They host Seattle this evening, a pretty good matchup for Nyquist.
All right, AJ, who are you taking on the wing?
Well, I'll start by pointing out that clearly Paul doesn't listen to me. I just said Patrick Laine is coming back, so I don't know if I'm on Gustav Nyquist, who's not going to be on the top line with Laine back. But just goes to show how much Paul actually listens to what I have to say.
Power play.
I will agree with him, though, that Alex Tuch is one option here for you. 4 straight games with a goal, including a hat trick. I like the matchup tonight for him. He's not over the top in terms of price at $6,700. I also don't hate looking at Valeri Nichushkin. Now, the matchup here is a lot tougher for Colorado facing the Rangers, but Nichushkin's been off to a hot start and is $6,600 as well. And that matchup could see his drafted percentage drop, so it might be a good opportunity to take advantage of it.
All right, take us to the blue line, Paul. Where are you going here? Do you want to pay up?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at Rasmus Dahlin. He's off to a great start. $7,000 the price tag. That matchup against Seattle, very tasty one. This guy's on a scoring tear that will extend through tonight's game. I also look at Florida's situation. With the absence of Aaron Ekblad to injury, a couple of their D-men move up in class. Brandon Montour, one of those guys, he's getting a larger role than was anticipated. First pairing minutes, first line on the power play as well, still costing only $5,200. In the lower end, I go back to the Boston Bruins. I want to hear AJ pronounce this guy's last name before I do, but I'm going to jump him and say Matt Grzelcyk is a guy who's assumed first pairing minutes with Charlie McAvoy on the IR. He's alongside another solid two-way blue liner in Hampus Lindholm, who costs only $3,500 due to a challenging matchup with Dallas. But the attraction here is his exposure to high leverage playing time, including the power play for the Bees.
All right, AJ, big beefy defenseman. Who are you going with?
I'm going to look at Detroit's Moritz Seider tonight. Hasn't had the best start to the year, just 1 assist to get it started here, but he does have 14 shots, averaging over 3 minutes a game in power play ice time. It's a good matchup for Detroit going up against New Jersey. So I think it's a good opportunity to cash in on somebody, but I do regrettably have to also agree with Paul that I think Rasmus Dahlin is a good option tonight. There's a reason he leads the league in defensive scoring right now, or defenseman scoring right now. So I think you have to consider paying up for him, even though it's a hefty $7K.
Anna, take us home. Who are you rostering on the blue line?
Lots of love for Patrick Laine so far on this show, but no love for one of the biggest beneficiaries of his return, Zach Werenski. Werenski has to be one of the most underrated defensemen in the NHL, period. If he was on a contending team, he would be right up there in the Norris conversation, in my opinion, and he's proven that so far this season. He's had multiple shots on goal in every single game he's played, at least 3 shots on goal in his last 6 games, has the second most shots among all defensemen in the NHL with 26, only behind Roman Josi, and Patrick Laine's back on that top power play with Zach Werenski, so I'm taking a look at Zach Werenski tonight.
Thank you to our NHL panel. You guys rock. We'll talk to you tomorrow. But coming up next, NBA 4-game slate. Guess who's in the house? Nick Fryer in the flesh. He's going to preview tonight's 4-game slate next.
You want to be a showstopper? You want to be awesome? Then you'll want to have a game plan. Whether you're a champion or a bettor, you got to be responsible. Have a realistic budget and bet within your means. Set a time limit, then stick to it. And use the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps. They offer all these tools and more so you can Practice safe bets. Can I get a mic to drop?
It's the biggest postseason ever. So DraftKings Sportsbook wants you to win big too. New customers bet just $5 to win $200 in free bets if your team wins. More teams, more games, and a November World Series? Huge. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and bet $5 to win $200 if your team wins. Action's so good, why bet MLB anywhere else?
Hold up. DraftKings, you're telling me that you're boosting same-game parlays? Well, that's big time. Actually, big is big enough. We're going to need a new word. Jumbo-munganous. No, monstremendous. Gargantuloso. Ah, see? The pink duck gets it.
DraftKings stepped up same-game parlays. Boost your winnings up to 100% for our biggest payouts ever. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
What'd you say, Carl?
In 2019, DraftKings and the Larry Fitzgerald Foundation launched the Pinkham program, which has raised over $300,000 to support breast cancer research. Thank you to everyone who has participated in this cause that is dear to my heart, and to DraftKings for pledging to raise another $100,000 this football season for Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. Visit DraftKings.com/surge to enter weekly Pinkham pools all October.
Welcome back to The Sweat. I'm here with our NBA panel, which is just Nick Fryer. Nick, thank you for, not just Nick Fryer.
Yeah,
it's Nick Fryer.
This is how it's going to be today. Okay.
No, it's
you
the
had
Nick
Jared
Fryer.
on, you had Steve on, and now you're finishing off with me, and I guess it's a bit of a letdown.
The Nick Fryer.
Here
for
trying.
NBA Shoot-Around.
Not gonna work.
NBA Shoot-Around. 4-game slate. We're so excited, and you're going to dish out some really good knowledge. So, Pistons and Wizards kick off the slate tonight. Let's look at DFS for this matchup. Bradley Beal, a guy you want in your lineups tonight against this very bad Detroit team? What do we think?
I don't have a ton of respect for the Wizards coming into this season, and I know the Pistons aren't off to a great start, but I do like the Pistons to start the year. I do like the over on their win total still, even though they're 1-2 out the gates. Cade Cunningham actually is a guy who I like a lot tonight. 7.8K going up against the Pistons. And the big reason for me that I like him here is he gives you a similar ceiling to what Bradley Beal is going to provide, and a similar floor for that matter too. I know Beal is only one of the two that has 40 DK fantasy points to start the season, so I understand people wanting to roster him, but you can still get similar output at $600 cheaper on DraftKings. Another guy I like a lot too in this one is Sadiq Bey.
All right, Mavericks Pelicans got some intrigue, right? Because both Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram banged up for New Orleans. So where are you looking for an edge in either fantasy or betting on this game tonight if those two don't go? Is that kind of what you're looking at?
Yeah, with Ingram, it looks like he's not going to be playing tonight because he's got the concussion protocol and everything going on right now. But with Jonas Valanciunas, that's the guy who I'm interested in most. Obviously, you got to follow the Zion Williamson news all the way up until lock. But when Zion, the one game where he had his minutes really limited to start at this point in the season, Jonas Valanciunas popped off for, I think it was something like 60 DK fantasy points, something to that end. So that's a guy who I absolutely want a piece of in this matchup at 7.8K. I like a lot of guys in that 7K range on this slate tonight, Jesse. Another one is Christian Wood on the other side of this matchup. He's been going off to start, and the Pelicans haven't been doing too great against big so far to start the season.
All right, no Paul George for the Clippers when they take on the Thunder tonight. Clippers still big favorites over OKC, but how does Paul George's absence change how you're going to approach this game?
So when you look at the total, first off, that's the big one for me. I do like the under in this one already. I kind of like the under coming into this one, the way we're seeing the line movement and everything, and despite we're seeing a dip in the line movement, despite the fact that the percentage of bets are leaning more towards the over, the handle is also favoring the under in this one a little bit as well. So I'm leaning towards the under in this one, but then also from a fantasy standpoint, I like John Wall a lot in his first two games. As much as I've been making fun of John Wall to start the year, and I don't know how much he makes the Clippers contenders, as much as they were favorites to start the season, the big thing for me is that first two games, we're seeing him at a low salary. We're seeing him provide 5 times value in those games. I think with Paul George out, he can easily do that again tonight against OKC, where I imagine he's going to do a lot of cherry picking.
All right, well, matchup of the night is the late game between the Warriors and the Suns. Phoenix, 2.5-point favorite in this one. What is your best bet for this game?
So I like the Warriors as the underdogs coming into this one, but I think my best bet in this one has to go to Steph Curry and his three-pointers right now. I know people have been messing around with that one quite a bit. The over on his prop right now, it's at 4.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. I do look at his points, to start the season too, as long as Klay Thompson's having his minutes limited. But for right now, I think this is the play with Steph because we've seen him go over this number twice in 3 games so far, and we also saw him go over this number twice in 3 games against the Suns last season, where the Suns still managed to limit some of his scoring at times last season. I think just backing his three-pointers is a safe way to go.
All right, excellent work, Nick Fryer. Now that you're going to be in here, we're wondering what we should call this segment. A couple early suggestions were Fryer Fest.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Into the Fryer.
Into the Fryer, okay.
What do we, like?
Fryer on Fire was, I think, the first one.
Fryer on Fire
was the one that I like. Fryer Fest.
Okay, Fryer Fest. Maybe we'll put it to a vote on the Twitter. We'll see.
Just don't leave it up to Steve because I think it's not going to go well.
We will let Steve decide. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. That is a show. We will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Emerson and I. Madden starts at noon. The slate is at 5. Enjoy all the sports, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern.